Hey everybody, welcome back to Trading ThinkScript. My name is Mike Fairborn. It's great to be back with you. It's always fun to try to piece together some ThinkScripts that are out there. There is a really popular one out there right now, which is really a Confluence. It's called the AGAIG Confluence script from an individual by the name of Copilot. Fascinating script that looks at three volume confirmations. Really quite popular. I wanted to get you guys in on this, and today I've just converted it into a scan to help to utilize that a little bit and see what we could find out there using that script. But I look forward to going into detail with you on that. Hello to you, Jenny Michelle. Favorite time of the day. Well, that's music to my ears. Great to have you here as well as the rest of you. Yeah, but absolutely, tapping into ThinkScript is such a great tool within the Thinkorswim platform because we can just kind of tailor kind of particular setups, bullish setups, momentum to what it is we are looking for, and just kind of translate that into the computer, let it know what we're after, and hopefully, with some luck, we get it to give us what we're after. So that's what we do here. We do look at a number of different time frames. We're going to build a little bit on last week's discussion with the VWAP, include that because that is included in this AGAIG Confluence script, as I've mentioned. So we're going to build on that a little bit, but it's fascinating. I've never seen a script that has three confirmatory volume or I guess expectation indicators within it. So it's fascinating to tie that into trend and candles. There's a lot going on here, but they did piece it all together. So looking forward to it. Hello to you live in the fast lane as well. Said hello to Jenny. Great to have her here, as well as Lakshmi, Richard, Zinc, Zinc 560. We've got Gary and good to have you both on board, folks. You could follow Kevin and I. I'm joined in the chat by a good friend and colleague of mine, Kevin Horner. Let me just state that first before I give you his X handle. Kevin Horner, Kevin Horner CS. Got some great stuff that he has there, so be sure to follow him. I'm Mike Fairborn CS. Love to have you follow us both. All right, well, with that, let's dive into some disclosures so we get the show on the road here. All right, information here is for general information purposes only and should not be considered an individualized recommendation. Paper Money software application is also provided for education purposes only. Backtesting that we do in this class from time to time. Now, those results presented are hypothetical, and there's no guarantee that the same strategy implemented today would produce similar results going forward. And that just makes total sense because the market is an open system, is what engineers would call it. It's not closed. When you're looking at the past, everything's already in place, but there's always new data coming in, new information. So, yeah, results do vary, no doubt. Can be some similarities, no doubt, but that's our disclosure on backtesting. Now, investing involves risk, including for some products, more than your initial investment. Past performance of any security or strategy does not guarantee future results or success. Also, we do look at futures and futures options trading in this class. Only as it relates to the charts, though. I wanted to state that it does involve substantial risk, not suitable for all investors. We don't do actual trading. We have other classes for that. For example, Ben Watson on Tuesdays has one as well, Tuesday mornings, a trading class. All right. Well, that is it. Just a quick note for those of you that are new to ThinkScript, I'd like to highlight this because, yeah, I mean, you haven't seen it before. Some of the steps to ThinkScripting that I just wanted to highlight here. Oh, cool. Got my tools lined up. Identifying the goal, critical today. We're really looking at an indication using that VWAP. It's combined with it. So volume indications and volume strength that tie in with the trend is really our key focus today. With this particular script and really a confluence of these. It's an interesting indicator, there's no doubt. That's what we're looking for. But yeah, can it meet the goal? Well, this indicator can show us that, outline the scripts, apply it. I do share that script at the end. I think scripts aren't guaranteed for timeliness or accuracy. So just a little side note on that, because that's an important point to note. By the way, welcome to you, Robert. Great to have Robert, who's built a number of scripts. I appreciate Robert being here as well. All right. Well, hey, let's do this. I wanted to bring up first, this was a question that was coming up, and I just want to make sure I address this. It was coming up in this class, some other classes that I saw that I was doing chat on as well. But this particular script, and I can have this, I'll share it, just the rotation script, but I just wanted to hit this off from the get-go. This sector rotation script, this is a 1 week sector rotation. I'm going to just share it right now. I think many of you already have it, but this was what was requested. So let me just do that real quick. Again, think scripts aren't guaranteed for time and strategy. This isn't actually a think script. It's just a grid. Well, I'll say this. It does have an indicator within it. And that indicator, just real quickly, got to state it because we had some questions on it, but that is our relative strength. So relative performance strength of energy sector and the other 10 sectors, so a total of 11 sectors in the S&P 500. How are they doing relative to the S&P 500? So it really gives us a relative basis. We know the S&P 500 is performing in whatever fashion, but are these companies performing better? Or excuse me, are these sectors and companies within them collectively performing stronger than the S&P, equal, or less than? Gives us really interesting insight as to where rotation might come from. I got this concept from none other than the man in the chat, Mr. Kevin Horner. And great concept he had, so I shared it, and a lot of people have really picked up on it. And I think it's really quite useful. This is just a 1 week. I got a 1 week, I've got a 6 month in here, but you can see energy and some of the others have actually been performing relative to tech, communication services, and well, discretionary kind of generally down, whereas some others are up this week. And it can give us early insights into rotation. Had to say that too, because let's just do this. I'm going to share this grid and I'll just say our 1 week. You can change this into a 6 month as well. I think I already clicked on share. That's okay. A lot going on here with this other script, so forgive me. But here we go. 1 week, put this in the chat, sector rotation. Sector rotation grid. All right. And there it is right there. Now, one of the key questions is how do I incorporate this grid? Because it is a grid chart. In other words, we've got a block of grids here, 12, all 11 plus the S&P in the bottom right-hand corner. It kind of fits kind of nicely here in terms of the grids. What you want to do is you want to copy that script, and I'll have this again in the description section at the bottom next to our scan that we'll share in just a bit. But take that, what you've copied, and then go to setup, upper right hand corner, click on open shared items, paste this in like that, hit preview, and it will import it just exactly as I've highlighted it there. Click on import, and once you do that, it will show up in this box. Now we are in the charts tab. This is right below on demand. You can see the box highlight next to the grid name. It's this box right there. These are all your grids. It would be right there. That, folks, is where you're going to find that sector grid, sector rotation grid for a 1 week, giving us insights as to where institutions might be heading. It takes a lot to kind of to have an impact on these charts, and it can be very, very helpful. All right. So there you go. Why is it set for a 5 minute chart? We're just looking, Jim, at a 1 week potential sector rotation. Money flowing into what sectors? And then we've drilled down into the individual stocks. In fact, I do this within my markets and sectors class, and we have a great coach filling in for me tomorrow on that. I brought his name up a few times. Let's say it again. Kevin Horner, filling in that markets and sectors class, does a great job in his trader talks every morning that you guys get. He's assigned for that class to kick off the day for all of us coaches. He's teaching that class, which really consolidates everything on the week, and he presents that tomorrow, Friday. Thank you so much, Kevin, for filling in for me on that, sir. All right, well, we did it. That's what I wanted to mention. So I promised I'd do it, and there you go. So some cool stuff there to take a look at. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go back into our regular chart setup. There really are some interesting charts. I mean, excuse me, some movements in some stocks out here today, just to highlight them as well. Apple has been raising some prices. You might have caught that information. Market hasn't really been responding too well to that. We're kind of dipping down, and it's just a quick note. If we were looking at a bear flag here, I think these are always so interesting to look at in the markets, just kind of highlight. But this is kind of like a bear flag, perhaps lower low, lower high, and it might have a little bit more distance to go. I mean, we might be getting close, but measuring this move to this move down just by the high point on down. So I don't know if Apple will do that. It could also bounce from there because the long-term trend is up. We also saw this has been in the news quite a bit. Micron, incredible move on Micron, up. Let's see. Look I was looking at these numbers over here. It's unbelievable. $4 in earnings. That was the actual. It was set to be estimated at 3.67. So just imagine this. Over the past 6 months, $4.78, $12.20, smashing estimates again. And what do we have over here? $25, smashing estimates again. I mean, up, by almost $5 in earnings more. So 478, 1220, 25. Prices are still going, we were just at 300 a bit ago, and now I guess we're over 1200. So some big growth in there. There's been some notes out there in the market that this is kind of like the new Nvidia. By the way, Nvidia, uh, more consolidation with Nvidia. Jensen Wong had said this is one of the great mysteries as to why the stock isn't moving. I don't know. It just threw that out there. Just last one too. Here we go. Microsoft. Look at Microsoft, folks. Dip, dip, dip. Talk about a bit of a falling knife here, right? It's just falling. I did send this out just as a little side note, just on my X post. And I said, you know what? Sometimes it's helpful too to just look back at the longer term right there. Look at the 350 where we're at right now. Whoa, on that Microsoft. Check, 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 and check. We don't know if it'll hold there, but some would say that's historical support. That would be on a weekly basis. Can't read that, but that's on a weekly basis. And so sometimes maybe it's time for that to hold up. Maybe not though. It just depends where are we at. We dipped down to that. We kind of bounced off that 540 off the bottom. Interesting what's going on in the market. So just a quick recap. The reason why I do these recaps is it's helpful to understand what we might be looking at in the general market when we are building up those think scripts in general. Keep that parked in your mind because are we bullish? Are we bearish? Well, looking at the S&P 500, we might be a little bit on the bullish side, a little bit of consolidation. I'd mentioned earlier this week in the swing trade class, it could be like a triangle. We don't know. That's a question mark too. I mean, it could be anything. It could go up, it could go down, but that's kind of a big rally. And it's not too surprising to get somewhat of a consolidation pattern that might either be kind of flaggish or, sort of at the end of it, it's kind of like a pennant pattern. I mean, if you break the whole thing down, that's referred to as a pennant type pattern. Move up and it's just kind of a pennant. That's the question. But anyways, let's dive into our key discussion today. And heck, why not? I'm going to throw in Micron because Micron has been a little bit bullish to say the least. And I did want to pick up on our discussion last week, volume weighted average price. You can take a look at that last week if you want. It was an intraday signal that we were building with the longer term trend. Today we're doing a little bit more. We're using a script here, the AGAIG Confluence script from an individual online by the name of Copilot. In fact, you could scan for this online. You could try to search for it online just by that AGAIG. I'll share it and I'll have information here as well. But it is a shorter term script, and it's interesting because it can be used maybe not on a 15, but definitely a 5 minute time frame. Let me just explain what the heck is going on with it, and we'll go from there. Now, I'm going to go over to my 5 minute. I'm going to add it in so you can see it. There is the VWAP. Now, uh, which is interesting on MU. And remember, we talked about this last week. We were finding those companies that were stock prices that were jumping above the VWAP and showing intraday strength with the longer term trend. I'm actually going to take this off for now, and I'm going to put on, there it is, the AGAIG Confluence, the Copilot. All right. So it's a very popular one. It was only released last month, but there's been a lot of um, people interested in it, utilizing it. I'm gonna before I'll pull it up actually and just show it to you right now, give you some ideas of what's going on. I've adjusted it just slightly for stocks specifically. You're going to get some additional indications as you go through this, by the way, when you break this down and look at it. Now, what it's doing, and I wanted to talk, by the way, here are the inputs behind it. So I'm going to pull up those inputs right now, and you can take a look at these uh, by going into the indicator, and you can change a lot of them. But by looking at the inputs, I'm going to kind of explain. Look at the, my gosh, there's a lot of them here. But he or she has put everything on here for us to look at. There are three key volume indications that come into play here. Three key ones. Now, when we look at those, what we're going to see is there's the money flow index, there's a volume and an average volume tied into it. If we come on down, okay, we're going to see also a VWAP. That's one, that's two, and that's three. There are other indications in here that tie into trend. We've got uh, an exponential moving average in terms of the trend. I'm going to break down the volume here in just a second, but for this one initially, the EMA, what this script looks for is the EMA, the 9 is greater than, they're all EMAs, the 21 that is also greater than the 50 EMA. So using exponential moving averages, but greater than, greater than. In other words, you've got all three of these going up. In other words, you've got the short term, the intermediate term, and the, well, you could call it intermediate to long term as well. All of these time frames, right, lining up together. And that's one key thing that is being looked at here. Okay, so with that, I wanted to find and actually highlight a couple of different points. Now, this money flow index, one of the key, I would say the key insightful move here on a short-term basis. Five, I want to show you today actually both of these, the five and excuse me, the 30 and the 5 minute. When you see these arrows pop up, what it's really highlighting here, Micron is probably not a great example. I can go back over here and look though, what we're seeing here. It is intraday, but you're only getting these when you're getting a bright green candle. That is the confluence. And I think this is one of the reasons why you're getting so many people kind of gravitating towards this is you're getting all three that are coming together at the same time. Let me explain. The first one has to occur. So to get this volume, this green candle, we need to get three volume confirmations. Let me just show you what they are right now, and then I'm going to highlight a couple of them. The first one, really straightforward and easy to kind of mention here, but it has to have volume. So it's looking at price volume. So just actual volume itself. Number one, first up top, it's got a higher volume. So high volume. And what is that defined as? 1.5 times the average volume. There are some indications of the script on this specifically over past, I'll just put this, past 20 bars, the past 20 bars. In fact, I think this over here may, in fact, just be a little bit easier for me to type this in. In fact, I'm just going to do this. Watch this. Into my scratch pad, I'm going to move this over here. Volume. Okay, so let's just do it. All right, so first up, we're looking at high volume bar, and that is going to be 1.5 times the average volume of past 20 bars. Now, bars, not days. So we are at a 5 minute chart here, but it's looking for a spike in volume. Something our script from last week didn't quite have. I mean, it was a VWAP, and this one actually has VWAP as well. But that's what you're getting when you're seeing this. So these are interesting spikes. When you see that kind of power come in, and look at this, see that confluence? Sometimes you can get a lot of strength to follow that because you're actually spotting that alone right there is part of it. Now we've got three of them though that make this up, that make it a little bit more unique. Next one, money flow index. And I'll go into this in just a second. MFI, money flow index. It is similar to the money flow that we've looked at here or the on balance volume. That money flow index though is above 50. And that does favor buying pressure, clearly. Now, if it's below that, you'd say, well, what's going on with the one up top? So it's a good check against the other one. This uses, though, by the way, that money flow index, it does use like a stochastic or a range, I'll just say a range of volume. I'll highlight it here in just a moment. And I'll share this real quick here. The next one, it also has money flow histogram is positive. These are kind of similar. So I said three. There's actually, I guess you could say four because you do have the histogram in there too. These are all the things that are required to get this green candle, this light green, bright green candle. Okay. It's called a full bullish setup. By the way, that's what we're going to be scanning for today. A full bullish setup. There's a lot, but we can scan through it and kind of pick up on it. And the last one is price is greater than, I'll just put this, price greater than the VWAP. So that's our VWAP signal right there. We got to pull this guy down. Okay, there we go. So, there we go. So that's just the volume side. The next side I highlighted, but I'm going to do it again. Trend, just more clear this way for everybody. The 9 EMA. In fact, trend with EMAs, exponential moving averages, some more weight on the more recent data. This is a very, very short-term time frame. This is a 9-bar EMA on a 5-minute chart. Now I'm going to show you on a 30-minute chart as well, kind of expand that out a little bit. But the 9 is greater than the 21 that is greater than the 50. So you're going to have some price action as well. And you're getting some of that through here as well, even off the bottoms. Okay. And that's it. So you've got a few different things in terms of that bullish indication, but that is the candle right there in a nutshell. Okay, that is the full bullish setup, you could say. I'll put slash indication. Let me just highlight this quickly so you can see it right here. There it is. There is Copilot's, description and information. I've written this all down here so you can see it. Well, this is his script. It is an indicator, so I wanted to find out what was really behind what's really going on, like the core of the indication. If you put everything together, that's the first green candle and the bright green candle. We're going to scan that here. But before I do that, let me just share this with you all in the chat. Again, big scripts aren't guaranteed for timeless or accuracy. I'm going to put this in AIG script. Again, I will have this in the description section down below for those of you viewing this on the archive section. But there it is for the indicator. Now, I'm going to put this same one over here on the 30-minute time frame. We don't want to forget what we're seeing on the daily chart, of course, but this is really intraday based. I'm going to come over here, add it in, got it as well. I'm just keeping the same defaults listed. And by the way, it will tell you where we're at right now, where the MFI is at and others listed right here. Now, I'm just going to describe for you, though, that MFI, because we haven't really gone into the money flow index too much. Generally, we've just used the money flow itself. Oh, that's all weird now. Okay, hang on a second. Let me just pull this over here. There we go. Volume. All right. So the money flow index, what is it showing us here? Right here, not money flow index. I'm going to click on this because it's a core portion of the confluence of this script here. Momentum indicator indicating the strength of money flowing in and out of a security measured. So it's a scale. I mentioned a range. They're saying scale here from 0 to 100. And what are we looking for in this? Greater than 50. In other words, it's above the mid-range, okay, of that money flow index. It does have overbought and oversold signals. but it's looking for an increase, or basically just generally speaking, it favors buying pressure. Is anybody using that? Uh, or has used that? I'm going to pull it up right now. I'm just curious how you might have used it in the past, but this is the range. So it is somewhat similar to the money flow, which I don't have showing. Okay, interesting. I'm just going to pull it back on here. There we go. So there's our money flow, which is a kind of accumulation. But the nice thing about this for a short-term basis is it just says, hey, are we greater than 50 or not? Are we below 50? This range right here, we're looking for that strength that's confirmed with buying pressure. In other words, are we seeing a high enough accumulation over a short-term range? I'm showing this on a 1 year. It's using it on a 5 year, but it's a check against this right there, our high volume bar, to ensure that it's also performing over a period of time. In other words, we're getting enough volume that offsets even a range of prior volume. Okay. Now that's a lot of information. So I'm going to pause for a second and just note a couple of things. By the way, Kevin, there is a survey link in the chat. If you get a chance to fill that out, that'd be fantastic. Just two questions in there. And by the way, it's a great way to deliver topic requests as well, because I go through those. My manager looks at those as well. Uh, Scott does. And yeah, just lets us know how you feel about it. But by the way, folks, if you're getting any value out of this discussion, we're going to build, or I'm going to share with you the scan here in just a second so we can pull up some of these. But if you're getting any value, smash that like button. Again, give us a follow too on Trader Talks if you haven't already. Love to have you on board. I think most of you are, but if you are new and you have not joined with us yet, let me just show you where you can do that real quickly. Right over here in our Trader Talks channel. And of course, we have 203,000 subscribers now. Love to have you on board. It just would say subscribe right here. I'm going to actually relay this right into the box. Trader Talks. So you can click on that if you haven't already. It is there. And Kevin has actually posted that link at the bottom of the chat as well, if you get a chance to fill that out. But yeah, I want to jump back into this. Again, be sure to follow us on X, Kevin Horner CS, Mike Fairborn CS. Kevin's got a lot of great stuff down here too. Really encourage you to take a look at his Trader Talks. There's a bite-sized one he just did as well, right there. The one we did last week, well, we built this intraday think script where we did start to tie in some volume. There was longer term trends in it, but I'm just going to copy this one. If you guys want to, are just here are some of those that we've done recently, recent scripts that have been somewhat more popular, you could say, across the broader community, what the people are looking for, momentum trend. Some of them are a little bit shorter term, like last week with the VWAP, but I'll type this in as well. So here's just that playlist, think script playlist. Hope I didn't mess that up. All right. Very good. Okay. Well, with that, let's get into the scan itself. And I want to talk about a few of these that did come up in the scan and how we do it. Now, what I did is I added to it a little bit. Let's go full screen here so you can see this a little bit better. I'm going to go right into our scan. Uh, let's see, that's a different one. But if I go into the scan and I go into the AIG Confluence, the Copilot, and we just added the scan feature in here. I want to show you something. I have it set as a 5 minute. I'm going to change that here in just a bit, but let's take a look and see what it can find out there. What I did too, because I know many of you do want to see this over a shorter term time frame. I put the look back bar time frame in as well. So not just finding, hey, what's showing like the current bar. That's tough to do on a 5 minute chart. We'd be clicking scan, search all day. Scan. I just said over the past 10 bars, 1 to 10, all those bars included, any of those bars, did we get that signal? Did we get the full first bullish setup indication? That is the bright green candle. Okay. And then we just added to the end, we just plotted the scan. First bright green candle, first bright green over the look back bars greater than 0. And what are the look back bars? Well, up to 10. Greater than 0, up to 10. just a way to do it. There are a number of different ways to do it, but that's how we've done it here today. Now, I'm going to scan this right now in the NASDAQ 100 and see what we've got up. I scanned it earlier, and we're going to potentially get some different ones coming up. By the way, folks, it's a totally different list than what we saw previously. It comes up throughout the day, but these are the short-term moves. I'm going to highlight them, just kind of show you what we got on them as well. All right. So earlier we were getting T-Mobile, TMUS, which is in the NASDAQ 100. I'm going to show you what it looked like right here. We got this bar, and we've been getting just a couple of these, but we hadn't had a green bar on the 5 minute for a very, very long time. Now, put it in context. What do we have with this setup? You know, the last time we had a green bar? Over here, a little while ago, on these 5 minute bars. Look at this. We just got it. What are we saying here? A little bit. Remember, look at it. We don't want to forget what we've learned in this class. Sideways kind of chap. This is a little bit, I would even say here, off the bottom, yes, but see this? Kind of a triangle. What's interesting here? We had a big spike in volume. If we don't get a lower low, but we start to break up here, this is where a lot of these shorter term moves can be longer term moves. Check this out. This is the 1 year chart. We've been coming down a while. And if you really look at this, you guys, I do use a number of Elliott wave techniques myself. I'm just going to highlight one here. But this is I think many people would say this is a 1, 2, 3, longest wave, 4, up to the bottom of that 2, 5, where the 1 and the 5 wave are equivalent in price. We're getting it right there. Does this mean it's going to go higher? No, but we're starting to see indications here. This could be the beginning, and that's the completion of a downward move where Elliott wave technicians, or Elliotticians as they call themselves, may favor an impulsive move. So it's an interesting move. I don't know. I haven't looked even at the fundamentals on this one, but that's what we're seeing here. And we even saw it over here. I mean, look at this. 1, 2, 3. You still backed off, but it can be a sign of like some institutional money coming in. It takes a lot to pass all three of these, and that's what it's trying to find. That's what it's seeking on a short-term basis. But like I said, there could be something a little bit longer term here. Here's the next one. Okay, let's see. FTNT, before we hit some of the newer ones right here. FTNT. Okay, this is what we'd seen for FTNT. See this? Bye-bye. Now we did dip down on the 5, and a lot of times you can get a little bit of maneuvering around. The key thing here is, do you get a higher low? A lot of traders would say it might be key, because then you were looking at the change of a shorter term trend. But what are we getting over here? Big volume on the breakout. We still pulled back. I got this earlier in the day as we were looking at this before we were running our session. We're not getting the signal now. Take a look at this. If I go to a 30-minute chart, you actually got it on the 30-minute too on this breakout. Do you see now? If you just zoom back on the 30, look at this. See the support level? Right through potential support. I mean, we don't know. That's the prior highs. I've made a mess of it there. Here, let me just draw that again. A little bit straighter. Oh, there we go. Something like that. Okay. So it's trying to spot possibly the start of the move. Here's FTNT on a daily chart. Do you see anything here that could be of interest? We have talked about the possibility of breakouts in this class, but this indicator is showing that there's interesting signs of volume at a big round number here. This is 150, or a friend of mine might call it 150. Okay. But I know he actually used to be a coach. That's a totally different story, but there you go. Pause, breakout. What's going intraday? Doesn't have to break out, but look at this move. Sideways. That is not a bull flag. That is a bull flat setup. Now, does it have to stay? I mean, does it have to go up? Nothing has to go up. Okay. But are there indications that traders look at, expectations? Yes. What are we doing? I'm zooming back to the 1 day. Maybe that's just how I'm thinking about this because I want to see what that longer term chart is actually up to. Are we seeing it around an interesting indication here? This is one that came up. There were three in the NASDAQ that came up. We're getting a lot more now. So as I just highlighted over here, let me just share this so everybody's got it. All right, I want to make sure you guys have this. Oh, let's go back to the scan to share it right over. There you go. Scan, and here you go. So this is the AGAIG uh, script scan. All right, there it is. Again, not guaranteed for time and accuracy, but we say that, but as long as the data that's falling to the platform is good, and we do have good data. I mean, I haven't had any issues, but I mean, it was just a mathematical calculation that creates these on the charts. But look at this. Now you can kind of see where that intraday strength might be coming. I hadn't seen anything like this all day long in terms of strength, but I want to look at them and just see what we've got over here. Um, some of these are just massive to the upside, but like AMAT, obviously change on the day quite high. What else do we get here? We've got LRCX. Let's do AMAT and just look at the daily and see what we're getting. Okay. Is there potential strength for the possibility of a flag pattern? Talk about this a lot in the swing trade class right there. That could be a big flag. I mean, we don't know, but I mean, if it did unfold to a flag, we're taking this price and we're adding it down here and we're saying this guy goes and what are we in the middle of? Well, a lot of individuals think we're in the middle of an AI type boom. Semiconductor related is, that's 800 range, it looks like. Don't know, but anyways, yeah, money flow, even on the daily chart, strong. Now, this is where it gets fun. We're getting the signal from right over here. Do you see it? Is this setting up for the possibility of a flag now? Intraday for a potential bigger move all day. Let's highlight it again. What are we seeing here? A three volume. Okay, technically, I guess you've got this one as a little addition to the money flow histogram, but right over here, look at the volume indications. Check, 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 and VWAP as well. Okay. It's just showing you, hey, could this be the start point? Now, some individuals would use this actually as a shorter term trading type system. Okay. They're looking at it that way. Other traders might look at that longer term time frame to confirm a possible potential entry point. Hey, do I think this has what it has got behind the scenes going on with that volume that we could never pick up otherwise without looking at the shorter term data to go higher? And that could, traders could use this for expectations. Google was on here. It was having a down day. This is fascinating too, because Google, yeah, forget this flag pattern. That never unfolded from here, right? Never did. Not yet. I mean, there's no flag yet. But longer term, kind of like that Microsoft one we looked at, will it come down and maybe hold near some prior highs over here? And are we getting some buyers coming in right now? Well, this confluence indicator by the Copilot suggests that we might. Coming on down right there. Look at this. Right here. Just some early indications. So, could this be a way to also, I mean, not just trade intraday, because here's the thing, you probably want the trend to be on your side, but the longer term trend on something like this is here. But what about this? Let's just go out on a limb and let's just say, we don't know if this, but let's just say tomorrow's Friday already. But if it's a close above the high of the low day, there might be some juice behind it, according to what some traders would see with this indicator. Because when I say juice, I mean, I'm just saying, hey, is there buying pressure there? Volume times three indications. Okay. That's what this does. That's why this has been, a bit of a, I mean, popular indicator to use. Today, though, folks, what we did is we put that into a scan for you so you can find the most interesting time, well, according to the indicator, when it first turns bright green right there. Now, before I'm done, because we're just about ready to wrap this up, but take a look at this. If I go to the scan tab and I wanted to flip this now into, maybe I said, hey, five, yeah, five's one thing, a 5 minute, but what about a 30 minute? I realize some might go to a 15-minute chart first, or, as they're looking at shorter term time frames, but the 30 minute too could be an interesting check. That FTNT that I was telling you about, it had the check on both. So in other words, over here, FTNT on the daily, FTNT, as we looked at it right there, it had both at that level. What's the actual confirm? A close above the high of the bar or whatever, but some might say, shoot, it's actually starting to close. I mean, it's getting close and there's volume behind it. They might anticipate it coming up. But back to this real quick. I just changed this over here. If I want to go 30 minute, all you got to do is change one little note on here. This is still scanning for. You'd have to flip this to the S&P if you wanted to have a bigger basket of stocks, but it's still the NASDAQ 100 is the way I've shared it with you all. And just click in here and go to the 30-minute time frame. Boom. Scan this guy right there. We have none, even over the past 10 bars. None. We did have FTNT earlier, but this would be an interesting one. Now, final note is that how do we just come over here and just click on scan all day long? Is there another way we could do this? Is what some of you might be asking. And guess what? There is. Go over here because we've created this as a scan and you can watch what comes up during the day real time. Go to the watch list, go to defaults, and just find it. I know my list is getting massive here, but just find this and there it is. See the AIG Confluence from the Copilot. Throw it in there and now you got it real time. Whatever's popping up in the last 10 bars, 5 minutes as we saved it, you've got it here to look at. That's where I think the real power comes in. Now, folks, please hit that like button if you did get some value out of this today. That is the intention of this class, and it was great to see you all as well. I look forward to future discussions. Today, it was a confluence on a very popular indicator that we did take the time to convert into a scan to try to kind of pick up its key point in terms of when does that initial bullish indication or setup occur, according to that indicator. So with that, thank you, Kevin, so much for your help in the chat. It has been good with being with you all today. I look forward to future discussions and utilize this. Take advantage of it. See if it can help you spot all those different indications with trend, 3 volume indications to really kind of try to capture where that big buying pressure might be. All right, everybody. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you.